They don't send a warning when life decides to snap you in half. It doesn't knock. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It just hits. And when it does, most people shatter, crumbling, crying, and begging for comfort. But not you. Not if you want to become truly powerful. Machiavelli didn't speak to the comfortable or the privileged. He spoke to those who have been broken, betrayed, and discarded. Because that's when the real game begins. When life breaks you, it's watching what you do next. You want to know who you really are? Let everything fall apart. Let the money go. Let people turn their backs. And let the future look uncertain. You'll meet yourself in that storm. And if your mind is weak, you'll rot in self-pity. But if your mind is cold, alert, and detached, you'll evolve. Pain isn't an enemy. It's a teacher. It separates the fragile from the forged. And if you let it, it will build you a mind that nothing can bend again. The world doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to what you become. When they leave you in the dark, don't scream. Instead, sit in silence and analyze. Watch your thoughts and dissect your emotions. Learn where your weakness lives and starve it. Don't reach out. Reach inward. Because once you build a mind that doesn't collapse under pressure, you'll become someone they can never control again. You're not here to be liked or to stay soft. You are here to become dangerous to anything that ever tried to break you. The 2 laws of mental power. 1. Weak minds seek comfort. Strong minds seek control. This is where we begin. Weak minds seek comfort. Strong minds seek control. When most people are hurt, they look for temporary highs, distractions, or comfort. They run to friends, noise, or addictions to escape what's really happening inside their minds. But here's the truth. Comfort kills growth. A mind too addicted to ease will never rise to power. If you want to be untouchable, you must rewire how your brain responds to pain. Machiavelli would tell you that control is the highest form of power, and it doesn't begin with others. It begins with your own reactions. You've been trained to numb yourself with scrolling, eating, and blaming, all so you never have to face the real war happening within. But the one who rules his own mind owns the world. While others chase pleasure, you train focus. While they seek reassurance, you sit with discomfort. While they panic, you plan. That's not heartlessness. It's dominance over your own psychology. People will call you cold when you stop emotionally reacting. Let them. They only say that because they can no longer manipulate you. Your silence will scare them, and your indifference will offend them. You don't need their understanding. You need your mind to obey your will. You get there by confronting your darkest thoughts and refusing to flinch. This is where most people break, but not you. 2. Break the emotion. Build the edge. You were never weak because life hurt you. You became weak because you let emotion hijack your judgment. You handed over your mental power to feeling and chaos, and the second you did, you became prey. Understand this. Pain is inevitable, but its interpretation is your choice. And in power psychology, the one who controls meaning controls everything. Life will break your body, but if it breaks your mind, you were never ready to begin with. You have to unlearn the belief that reacting emotionally makes you authentic. It doesn't. It makes you predictable. The world studies you, and if your reactions are automatic, you're already owned. They know how to hurt you and which words to use to trigger your anger, sadness, or need for validation. So what's the move? You become emotionally disciplined, not emotionless, but disciplined. You feel the heat, but you don't move unless it's calculated. You cry, but only behind locked doors. You speak less, but everything you say lands like a knife. You don't waste energy arguing with people who have already made up their minds. Why? Because your focus is sacred, and no one deserves access to your mind unless they've earned the right to be there. Machiavelli wrote that it's safer to be feared than loved. In psychological warfare, love makes you soft and ties you to illusion. But fear keeps people cautious. They'll watch what they say and second-guess their moves, respecting you even if they don't understand you. That's the edge you're building now. Most people stay broken because they accept the story life gave them, wearing their suffering like a badge, hoping someone will understand. But Machiavellian power isn't earned through pity. It's taken through mental warfare. To become untouchable, you must rewrite your story right now. Tear down every narrative that says you're a victim, that you were wronged, or that life owes you something. Life owes you nothing, but it will give you power if you are ruthless enough to take it. Your trauma is not your personality. Your pain is not your identity. It was a phase, a test. Now you must destroy it. You aren't here to tell the world what happened to you. You're here to show who you became because of it. People will try to remind you of your past, and you should let them, but make sure the version they're trying to talk to doesn't exist anymore. That's how you control the narrative. By killing off the version of yourself that stayed broken. Machiavelli understood that perception is more powerful than reality. When you speak, make your words cut. When you walk, carry silence like a weapon. When they doubt you, don't explain. Exceed. When life hits again, you won't crumble. You'll calculate and adapt, using the pain because a man trained in pain becomes fluent in strategy. There will be nights when your mind feels like an enemy, but you'll have one choice. Collapse into weakness or construct your mental empire. The mind doesn't respect motivation. It respects discipline. You are not the damaged version of your past. You are the weapon that version created. 3. Kill attachment. Build inner power. Attachment is the most silent killer of mental power. At first, it feels warm like love or loyalty, but beneath the surface, it turns your strength into chains. You chase, compromise, and bend your standards to keep people and possibilities that were never meant to stay. That's the first fracture in your mental armor. Caring too much about things that don't care about you. Machiavelli didn't build power by clinging. He built it by watching, calculating, and detaching when the time came. If you want your mind to withstand life's betrayals, you must study this principle deeply. Never attach your peace to anything external. Not people, not outcomes, not even who you think you're supposed to be. Because the moment something controls how you feel, it controls you, and a controlled man is a weak man. To become dangerous, you must become emotionally independent. Master the art of being calm while chaos surrounds you. Your silence becomes unsettling, your absence becomes loud, and your detachment becomes your dominance. While the world panics, you stay composed, not because you don't feel, but because you no longer need. Every time you detach, you reclaim power. Every time you stop explaining, you sharpen your focus. And every time you walk away, you remind the world you were never meant to be owned. They will call you selfish and say you've changed. Let them. The truth is, you finally stopped playing the role of the emotional servant and stopped shrinking so others could feel taller. Machiavelli would have called this the supreme discipline of rulers. To act without being seen, to feel without being enslaved, and to cut without hesitation when necessary. You must build an internal fortress that no one has the key to, because they can talk, leave, and betray, but they will never break what they cannot access. For isolation is where kings are forged. They'll tell you being alone is dangerous and a sign of failure. That's a lie told by those who can't stand silence. Weak minds need constant noise and people to distract them from the war inside. But you're entering a phase of chosen isolation, not loneliness, but solitude. In that solitude, you will build something unshakable, your mind. This is where the world gets quiet and your thoughts get loud. Every fear, insecurity, and regret will surface, not as an attack, but as an audit. This is where Machiavelli thrived. He observed and plotted in the dark while others played in the light, because isolation gives you a space free from illusion. You'll sit in that silence and dominate it, listening to your mind scream but refusing to flinch. You'll rewrite the code and stop thinking like a servant, starting to think like a strategist. You'll detach from emotional noise and attach to tactical clarity. You'll no longer chase dopamine. You'll chase discipline. When a man returns from isolation, he is either more broken or more dangerous. The weak come back needing validation. The powerful come back needing nothing. You are not doing this for attention. You're doing it to reclaim your edge. Machiavelli wrote his sharpest strategies alone, understanding that influence isn't built in crowds. It's built in the shadows. Go inward, go dark, and when you return, don't explain or announce. Just execute. Turn pain into precision. Pain is the greatest intelligence test life gives you. Not school, not books, but raw pain that breaks your routine and cuts your illusions open. In that chaos, the weak beg for comfort, but the future rulers go quiet. They stop feeling and start calculating. They look at pain like a message, like data, like a warning from the universe saying, adapt now or be erased. If you're still reacting to pain emotionally, you haven't understood it yet. Pain is data. It shows you where you're exposed, what they can use against you, and where your defenses were weak. This is where you stop seeing pain as an enemy and start using it like a scalpel. You dissect it and ask, why did this hit me so hard? The answer is always the same. You let your mind fall asleep. Machiavelli would tell you, never let peace lull you into softness. The world is not a safe place. It's a board of moods, traps, and consequences. When you treat life like a battlefield, you begin to act like a tactician. Your heartbreak becomes data, your failure becomes map coordinates, and your betrayal becomes a list of vulnerabilities you need to seal shut. While others collapse under emotion, you craft responses, not reactions. Most people play checkers with their pain, jumping too fast and too desperately. But you play chess. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, where can this pain position me long-term? That's the Machiavellian mindset. Cold, clear, and focused. Every time life stabs you, don't bleed, analyze. What did it expose? What weakness in your system made it possible? Pain isn't just an alert. It's a blueprint. You become dangerous when you stop reacting, when your silence forces people to confront themselves, and when your presence makes them cautious with their words. That's how respect is built, not with demands, but with psychological contrast. The fortress of immunity. Become emotionally immune. Kill their control. The world doesn't destroy you with weapons. It destroys you with emotional bait. You are told to be nice when you should be silent and to forgive when you should walk away. And every time you comply, you lose a piece of yourself. This is how control works, not with force but with emotion. But you're not playing that game anymore. You're done bleeding for people who sharpen the knife. This is where your emotional immunity begins. The difference between numbness and immunity is that numbness avoids, while immunity absorbs and remains unaffected. That is the power you're building now. You don't let their words pierce or their absence shake you. You hear it and you see it, but it doesn't reach your core. The weak give their energy away like it's nothing. One insult and they spiral. But Machiavelli would tell you, a ruler must be unshakable because he's focused. You must audit everything that touches your energy and ask, does this strengthen me or does this scatter me? The second you feel yourself shrinking, cut it. Emotionally, strategically, quietly. This isn't about revenge. It's about preservation. They don't need to know you're done. They just need to feel the void where your emotional investment used to live. You're not here to chase clarity from people who enjoy confusing you. Your self-respect is not up for negotiation anymore. This is what makes you terrifying, that you're no longer reachable by manipulation and that they can't predict your reaction. You don't clap back or argue. You vanish emotionally first, physically later. Machiavelli said, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. So ask yourself who gets access to your world. Who still has emotional power over you? That's your audit and your cleanup mission. When it's done, you'll stand lighter, sharper, and more dangerous than ever before, because nothing is more powerful than a man who has learned to protect his inner state. You live in such a way that disrespect can't even enter your space. Weaponize your presence. Command without a word. Powerful men don't speak often or explain themselves in public. They walk in silence, and their presence speaks louder than words ever could. This isn't arrogance. It's calibration. They know the battlefield they're on, and that perception shapes reality. And they know this. The less you say, the more control you hold. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You need to carry an energy that forces people to feel your presence without understanding why. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must appear strong, because in the game of power, perception always outranks truth. You must train yourself to become unreadable, calm, and controlled. Your silence becomes a mirror, and people project their guilt, fear, and intentions onto you, while you say nothing and reveal nothing. That's how you win without lifting a finger. Weak men overcompensate, but you're becoming a man who can sit still in a storm and doesn't flinch under insult. You're not interested in being liked anymore. You're interested in being felt. Liked men are soft and flexible, but felt men are unpredictable and self-contained. The second you withdraw, they panic. Machiavelli would tell you that the most feared men in history weren't always the loudest. They were the most deliberate. They executed their plans instead of broadcasting them. This kind of power requires brutal self-control. You have to kill the need to prove yourself. You win not when you clap back, but when you give them nothing. The unbreakable mind. Cold, clear, untouchable. You felt the betrayal, endured the silence, and yet you're still here, stronger, quieter, and colder. Not because life got easier, but because you finally understood that the world doesn't reward softness. It rewards the mind that refuses to die, even when everything else does. This is the moment you become something else. Not a survivor, but a weapon. Machiavelli said, "Men must either be feared or crushed, because power doesn't exist in half measures. It bows only to those who train their minds like an assassin trains his blade. Cold, sharp, and ready. The unbreakable mind isn't born through hope. It's built through design and discipline. You've outgrown the need to be liked and the habit of over-explaining. When life hits, you don't panic. You pause. You don't collapse. You adjust. You don't seek comfort. You seek control. The game isn't emotional anymore. It's strategic. You walk differently now, not with arrogance, but with power. You no longer try to fit into rooms. You own the space with your presence. You no longer explain your silence. You wear it like armor. Machiavelli would have called this state invincibility through perception. The moment people realize they can't control your mind, they start respecting you differently. This man is untouchable, not because he fights, but because he no longer bleeds for the world. He who controls his mind controls the world. You are no longer rebuilding. You are reprogramming. And the man you're becoming doesn't apologize for being calculated, doesn't explain his coldness, and doesn't shrink for anyone's comfort. He builds position, and that is the energy that rises to the top.